All right, everybody, welcome back to episode 2 of Turnovers with Alyssa. My name is Alyssa, and I am pleased to announce that I have one of my closest friends on the podcast with me today, Haley Rath. Haley, how's it going?
Hey, not too bad. Happy to be here, buddy.
Happy to have you. Haley's got quite the resume. She's a hockey player, hockey coach. I don't even know the exact title that you do with Canlin, but we'll get into that. You work in their like programs and camps and such. But
Programs and
again,
camps. Yeah.
yep. um, unfortunately, former game day ops manager of the Toronto Six. Again, unfortunately, former game day ops manager of the Toronto Furies. And yeah, RIP to both. Rest in peace. Oh man, that's really sad. But we'll get into that in a minute. But where should we start? We want to start with game day ops. You want to get into it?
Let's just get into
We
it.
should just
Jump
get
into
into
the deep end. Let's go.
I feel like that might be why everyone might be here, but there's been a lot that's gone on since I've personally recorded. The women's hockey world kind of got flipped upside down.
Just a little bit.
Obviously, with the buyout of the PHF, with the Mark Walters Group and the Billie Jean King Enterprises buying it out. New league supposedly coming in January with 6 teams. We all know this. It's been in the news for a month, but I haven't recorded in a month. So, again, lots going on. Haley's been tied to it, unfortunately, but also you were in a really cool position to begin with, but you were tied to it because you were affected by it. And unfortunately, sounds familiar, but you had your job swept out from under you and taken from a tweet.
Basically, yeah. I mean, I love going on Twitter and finding out that I'm losing my job for the second time in my career in the same fashion. Definitely not the way I recommend. Now, I will say to the PHF, there was an email with a meeting that I could have hopped onto. It just went to my junk folder, so I didn't see it till about 2 weeks later.
2 weeks.
I don't check my junk.
Imagine if you were just like completely isolated for some reason from Twitter. I don't know, like you just decided to like step away. And like I don't,
no social media for a bit.
You're a no social media, but you also were like just away from reality for a while for whatever reason. And all of a sudden you were like, you come back and you saw the junk mail, and you're like, oh wait, what? That'd be crazy, but it didn't happen that way. But
like thankfully, but also, God, I would love to just learn about losing my job in a normal way for like the first time in my career. It would be great.
Again.
Yeah, I think yeah. I was getting some flashbacks, that's for sure.
I mean, I was too, and I didn't lose my job again. So I can't even like begin to imagine kind of where that came from and like how that felt. We'll get more into those crappy feelings a little bit more in a second, but I'd love to know kind of your history of being a game day ops manager, what a game day ops manager is, what you do on a day-to-day basis on game day, and kind of like how you fit into the role, how you got it, and what the experience was like.
Yeah, so I mean, as you mentioned, I started with the Toronto Furies. Really, I started working in hockey a long time before that. I worked for the Pink the Rink Tournament of the Togo Dolphins for many years, still do. Every year, I plan on being there again this year. So it kind of started there, and then when I wanted to get into sports, I reached out to the Toronto Furies at the time and said, how can I get involved? And they had some game day volunteer positions open, so I started there. Working the ticket table, and I was very, very bent on making this my career. So I was first one at the arena, last to leave. Well, maybe not last. I'm sure the GM was still there long after I left for the night. But I wanted to make sure that they remembered me. So I was first there, last to leave, and thankful to Nicole Trey, who was the GM at the time, and she saw all that hard work, and we'd had some conversations going towards the end of it, and it just happened that the game day manager was heading over to Markham for the next season, so she offered me that position. And that was I know, Markham, right? Oh, that rivalry feels old. But yeah, no, good time. So come the 2018-19 season, I was set to be game day manager. And then I sent an email to Nicole one day about getting ready for next season, and it bounced back to me. And it turned out she lost her job, and the Furies are on a GM hunt, which was very unfortunate. I really liked her, and but
I didn't know. I
bringing to
didn't
the
know this.
but bringing to the fold Sammy Joe Small. Because then here we go. Sammy Joe comes back in. Ended up having another chat with her. Thankfully, got to stay on as game day manager still. So really started my career. I think that year will kind of be the pivotal moment for me of getting to really establish myself as, you know, an actual manager and getting my own department in a sense and getting to make some change and do some good work. And it was a really awesome experience. I mean, the Toronto Furies that year, you know where the Toronto Furies were that year. That's the year we met as our amazing social media person. I mean, our social media went from 0 to 100 real quick. So that was
Wow, who did that?
I
That's
don't know, man.
crazy.
I don't know, it was
Yeah, it's
69
so
days since our last
that's
home game. That was the most popular one. So
oh Lord. Yeah, not my like favorite, but also kind of my favorite moment. I'll tell the story. So I made a tweet from the Furies account. Basically, it was our like return back home because we had played on the road, and then I think there was also like a bit of a break for some like
it was
internationals.
I think we had like the holidays and then we went to China
Yeah,
and
that
so
was
it had been just a
China. It
long
was
time.
China.
It had been a long
It's a
time since
long
we'd had a
time,
home game.
69 days to be exact. 69. I know, nice. But I had made a tweet, and the funniest thing at the time, I was living in Toronto, of course. I was living in Etobicoke, and I was taking the bus from Humber College, where I lived, to Kipling Station, and then I somehow made it to Kipling Station, or to the arena from Kipling Station. I don't know if I walked or Ubered, but it's
I mean, you
beside
definitely
the
didn't
fact.
walk, let me tell you that, buddy.
I didn't like walking. I didn't like that walk. It was not a fan. I
How
probably
would you
Ubered.
walk?
Regardless, I remember being on the bus tweeting it. Like I literally remember being on the bus and being like Googling how many days since whatever the date was of our last home game. And it was 69 days. I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is the
This is
best thing
amazing.
ever. So I tweeted the game day graphic as something along the lines. I can't even look it up now because the tweet
It
got
was
deleted.
69 days since our last home
It,
game. Nice. That was the
was
tweet.
that
That was
actually
it.
it?
That was it.
Which is a great tweet, by the way.
10 out of 10.
And people thought it was great. People were responding, being like,
Oh,
nice, nice, nice. And then I get a text from Sammy Joe Small asking me what this tweet is. And so I show her, I sent her a screenshot and I explained the inside joke on the internet. And then
the
comes
Sammy Joe
back to
Small.
me. The Sammy Joe Small, the 3-time Olympian, yep, her, comes back to me and says, I think that's funny, but I've received some texts from some players, and one player in particular being Natalie Spooner.
Yep, Canada's favorite, Natalie
Basically,
Spooner,
yeah,
queen of the
Canada's
eyeliner.
favorite captain of the Furies, basically saying that it's not appropriate and that kids follow us and that we should be more careful. So it got deleted.
I remember standing
It
next to
feels
you
like a
at
fever
MasterCard
dream.
Center. Oh, I know. I was
MasterCard,
standing
not
next to
Ford
you at
Performance.
MasterCard Center, and when you got these texts from Sammy Joe and Natalie Spooner and all these guys, and we're like right across from the Furies home arena, and
Literally.
yeah, and you were like, "Well, I guess I'm deleting this tweet."
I know, and it was good. Yeah.
It was a
Anyways,
great tweet.
just
The engagement was off the
great.
charts.
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
Oh,
my finest moment, but also not my finest moment at the same time. But
definitely, it's up there. The most memorable. I
it's
still
up
think it's
there.
Brittany Howard's world, and we're just living in it. Broadcasting in front of the entire Toronto Furies dressing room is your
Oh my
finest moment.
gosh. That was so embarrassing. That was the first time I'd ever met the whole team. So we had this like marketing agency come in to talk to the players about their importance of marketing and importance of marketing for our team and individuals, and et cetera, et cetera. And then we get to the point of the presentation where it's like screenshots of our tweets, and one of them is about like it's Brittany Howard's world and we're all living in it, and then everyone's like giggling at like Brit, and everyone's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, good tweet!" And I'm sitting there like white faced ghost, like I'm just meeting these players for the first time. I've had this job for like 2 weeks. This is terrifying. But it was, and
They were
then
showcasing good tweets though, so for what it's
they
worth.
were, and you know what? For only being like, I think it was even less than 2 weeks. I think it was just after like the
It was
first set
brand
of
new.
games.
You were yeah,
Good
I
times.
can't imagine, dude, like, I barely knew them, and I've been working with this team for a few months and the year prior
Yeah,
already, so
yeah. It was. I was probably like red in the face, just so embarrassed. So was Britt too. Like Brittany was sitting there like I
well,
don't
she's
want to. I don't
rookie.
want.
She's a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. The kid, she was a rookie on the team. It's her
Yeah, she
first
was so
season
that
in
was
pro
fresh out
hockey.
of RMU. Yeah, she had just finished
Yeah.
college. That's so funny. Um, yeah, it's funny because Haley and I, that's where we first like officially met each other. But where our kind of like our friendship grew stronger and
Really
like
began,
developed,
yeah.
yeah, it was when we played hockey together. So we worked together at the Furies, but because of our jobs and because of like how busy we both were, like we it's pretty funny. We both walked around and ran around like chickens with our head cut off. But like
Oh, yeah.
we would pass by each other, be like, "You good? You good? You good? All right, see you later. Good luck," kind of thing. Like it was just a
Well, thumbs
quick
up,
thing.
keep
Like it was,
going. Yeah,
yeah, like it was never like a tight knit or even like remotely like
yeah.
close of a bond. And then we follow each other on Twitter and like that's whatever and stuff. And all of a sudden, like I show up at hockey tryouts for Humber College, and you're in
A
there.
team
And
you'd
I was
already
like,
played on.
the
You
team
already
I had
played on
played for
Humber.
the year before. I had played a full season, and I show up for hockey tryouts for the next season, and I'm like, I'm coming in my second year, head's massive. Like I just got a ego through the roof because I'm one of the few returners as well. Like I'm one of the few returning players that like didn't graduate or like decided to come back. So I got this ego, and I'm walking in, and I'm like, oh, hello there. That's
Well, I
someone who
remember
I
you
know.
walking in, and I looked up, and I went, "Alyssa?" And you go, "Haley?"
Which
And
is
both of us
so
had this
weird
moment of
because you
like,
don't call me Alyssa.
"No, I call you Turner." Turns like calling you Alyssa now is so weird to me. So, heads up to my maid of honor speech, you're not gonna be Alyssa in that either.
Yeah, Haley is my maid of honor as well. That's just a side note here. Pretty cool to get to do a podcast episode with your maid of honor and one of your best friends. Um,
Right?
but yeah, so from that point on, like it went from we knew each other and like followed each other on Twitter and like had a general idea of what each other did outside of like our date, like our like Furies jobs, but like it was very like surface level. And then hockey season came.
Hockey season comes along and, well,
Disaster.
you don't go through the season we did without becoming best buds.
We can't get to those stories on here, but some of them
No,
maybe, but
I
maybe a good chunk of them no.
no, I think some of
So the
those stay
thing
in the
with
chat.
playing rec, it's like a rec extramural is what they call it.
Yeah, yeah.
So for Americans that are listening or watching right now, so you have your D1 and your like D3 hockey schools and stuff, and here we have U Sports, which is university, and then there's colleges. And Humber is a college, and colleges don't have varsity hockey, unfortunately. Like they just don't. But they do have this thing called extramural, which it's competitive and it's pretty decent hockey. It's just it's just not varsity, so you have to pay to play. First of all, you have to pay. Um, you have to like you don't like we get like a t-shirt or a hoodie and that's about it. Like you know like it's but
Yeah.
it's so much fun, but it's also just
You get a
like
practice a week, you get a couple
and like
tournaments, and they'll
you're
monitor your
lucky if you get
partners.
2 lines. You're lucky if you get 2 lines a
Oh,
game.
man. we had more goalies than lines at one point.
We did. We had consistent 2 goalies. We had, like, both of them showed up all the time too, and then the rest of the team, it was just hit or miss if you would have them show up at practice, or even, like, more important, for a tournament, because the games, like, were in tournament form. Like, they weren't like, oh, we have a game this day and you have a game this day. It was like, oh no, you have to play 5 games in one day.
Yeah.
Which is just insane. So we're chugging Red Bulls in the locker room
And I
before,
think I
like,
just remember some smelling salts coming out too.
smelling salts, and then also um uh, pre-workout, but, like, not mixing it in with
Oh,
water, like taking the scoop, putting it back, and then
just putting her back.
chasing it with water.
I don't know whose smart idea that was, but I bet it started the T.
It was me. It was great. I played wonderful. I only had a headache by the 3rd period. It was great.
I was a great
Yeah,
bench
so
warmer. Left bench? That was my spot.
yeah. Haley actually goes down as one of the greatest backup goaltenders that Humber has ever seen. You should toss that
Oh
on your
yeah,
resume.
I think so. I think so.
We'll get more into your playing career and all that stuff a little bit later. But going back to game day ops, so you're
Game day
working for the
off.
Furies. The season's great.
Working for the
You know,
Furies. Season's great. We go
it's
for,
great.
we're
You
looking
know,
for
we make the
Clarkson. It
playoffs
doesn't.
somehow.
Yeah, that was
That was fun.
insane.
That was
That was
fun. That was
insane.
such a cool,
Oh man,
like chunk of time where it was like, no, everyone
that
was like, the
push.
Furies aren't gonna make
Oh,
it, like, and then we're like, psych, ooh, we're gonna sneak
psych,
right
we
in
made it.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of fun. Didn't make it to the final, but that's all right. You know, vibes were still good. And then
Yeah.
season ends. Kind of like
Everything's it's
I personally didn't have like a plan for next season, but like Sammy wanted me back. Like I knew that Sammy
yeah.
liked me and liked my work and enjoyed what I did and all that stuff. Um, but like I didn't have a plan. I don't know where your perspective on that was, but the general like vibe, I think, from both of us, that we're back next year and like we're
Yeah.
probably gonna
We're
get it.
working
I
towards the
didn't
next
get paid
season.
I didn't get paid. I think you did, but it was barely anything.
To say I got it was a stipend. But I got paid much more for the Toronto Six, and they also paid me a stipend. So,
Yes.
just to put that into perspective, it
Yes.
was the Toronto Furies had only just started paying players. The staff were definitely not
Correct.
getting a ton. You're
Yeah.
doing it because you love it, because you want to be a part of this, is
100%.
what I'd
And
say.
like,
It's
yeah, and like I felt the same way, and I was also in my first season. I was just getting into like my career and like what I wanted to do. So like, it was an internship, but then like I don't know, but
yeah,
like it just, the vibes were like, okay, we're gonna return, probably get a little bit more
yeah.
money. Like I'm gonna get paid. This is gonna be great.
We're
And then
we're riding this high
April
of a
comes
successful
around.
season. We're riding this
Yeah,
high of a successful season.
successful, which like,
Calgary beat us out of
yeah,
the playoffs, but then won the Clarkson Cup. So we just lost
mm-hmm,
to the best team in the league. We can do anything next year. We're about to have a sick
yeah.
draft.
Lauren
March
Gable.
31st. Don't
Lauren
say it,
Gable was
dude.
supposed to be a Toronto Fury.
Lauren Gable and Brittany Howard got shafted out of being teammates twice now.
Twice. Who's counting?
Anyways, who's counting? Not me. So, and then comes March 31st. It's the week after Calgary just won the Clarkson Cup. Quite literally
Literally
just the week
so
after.
close, like so close in time.
The week the GMs were just having a meeting the week prior about what to
They
do
also
next
like
season
had
and planning for
sold
next
out that
season,
game
and
too.
it was a
Yeah.
sick game.
Yeah.
And then I'm at a hockey tournament at MasterCard Center. Funny enough, I'm at the Toronto Furies home arena. I'm about to go on the ice for the championship game, and I get a Twitter notification from the CWHL on my phone because I had them set for that. And before, it was this moment where I hadn't even opened it yet, and I just had this feeling in my gut that everything was about to go wrong. And sure enough, I open this tweet and it's the CWHL dissolving. And
Yeah, it
just
was like we're seizing operations effective, or no, it was by April some, like it was like we're done, but they gave
pretty
a
much
date of
immediately. It
like
was done.
when, yeah, like it
Yeah.
was done, but it was the weirdest tweet too. Like, yeah, I remember it being like, like a bunch of buzzwords in it, and like
I
just
think it was
like,
April 30th was the date. It was the end of April. They basically
yeah,
had like a month of like, we're finishing this out.
yeah. Well, because like
And
they had like the auctions and stuff where they sold their jerseys and all that.
and
Yeah, that
the
was sad,
trophies.
and the trophies. Um,
What a joke.
but yeah, it was the weirdest tweet. Um, but you saw it live, right? Like you got the
I
notification,
saw
you
it, like,
saw it
I
right
got it
away.
rated. It was at 10 a.m. on the
Yeah, it
dot
was
on a
just a
Sunday
10 a.m.
morning.
news dump. Wasn't it yeah, it was a Monday, right?
It was a Sunday because the Monday was April 1st,
Oh, it
and
was a
everyone's
Sunday.
theory, right? Everyone's theory is that they didn't do it on the Monday like you should have because it was April 1st and would have come off as an April Fool's
Oh
joke. So they
my
did it
god.
Sunday morning at 10 a.m.
I forgot it was a Sunday. That's
Yeah.
why I was sleeping in.
Yeah, because I was supposed to go on
Yeah.
the ice for a championship game of a tournament, and I'm, like, on the ice, like, I'm just, like, I walked into the dressing room, and it's, like, this team that I don't even know really anyone on. They'd recruited me to play for the weekend type of thing, because as is the life of a goalie, and I was like, "The Toronto Furies don't exist anymore," and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "The CWHL just folded."
Oh,
And everyone's like, "What are you
eerie.
talking about? We got a game to play." And
Oh,
sure enough, and then,
man.
we finish out the game, and I'm at the home arena, so I just walked over to our dressing room, and funny enough, Sammy Jo Small's there.
Oh
And
god.
because she kinda had that same, I don't know, that feeling where you just this was where you had
She
to be.
sh
If we are gonna fight the battle, it's gonna be from our home, and
yeah.
we kinda spent the day there. I got my laptop zoomed over from my apartment, we spent the
Mhm.
day there we put out the press release and all that, and just
That
absolute
was
it
such
was
a
wild,
wild
but
time. Yeah, like I didn't see it live. So you like you said it went out at 10. I remember waking I don't even think I woke up to my phone. Like I just woke up at like
yeah,
probably like not even an hour after it was announced. But like woke up, picked up my phone like I always do, and I had a few texts from you. I think I had like, I don't think I had a text from Sammy yet, but I had some other people like in the league that I think I was either in like group chats with or something that like had texted me and like, or like, I think it was the group chats. I'm not sure, but then a crap ton of emails, like so
I
many
can only
emails,
imagine.
which was like weird because it wasn't that long, but I think it was just because from what, and again, this is a long time ago. Well, yes and no, but it was a different time of my life, so my brain's a little fuzzy with it. But from what I remember, like Sammy jumped on it pretty quick. Like she was
Oh, so like I said, like,
she's like
Sammy was at MasterCard by,
at the
I'd say,
rink,
11:30, and
packing
she
up
lives,
stuff, making sure they
she
didn't lose
doesn't.
out on anything. Yeah, because
Yeah,
that was also a
not
big
packing
big
up
thing.
stuff, locking the dressing room and
Yeah,
hiding the
locking
key.
the dressing room and making sure, yeah, like, cause that was a massive fear was that, like, everything in the room and, like, all the signage and all the, like, physical stuff, like, just the
Yeah,
again, the room, and then we also had, like, this, like, little cage thing that was, for
with
storage.
medical, all of our
Yeah,
coaching
so
stuff,
much
just, like,
stuff, like everything you
yeah,
need to run a professional hockey team, was there, and the terrifyingness of losing all that, and then also, we wanted to get a press release out, so that was like why I had so many emails, and Sammy was emailing players and staff, and like I was CC'd in all of it, as well as like other staff. So yeah, the emails were weird, and then I opened Twitter, which was just like the worst. Like because
I
not
can
only
only the
like is it
disaster that Twitter
from,
was.
yeah, like not only was it hard from like the personal, like I don't even know how to react, but also like I have the brand account on my phone. What do I do? So I remember opening up the account, going on the account, and at this point we were given no instructions of tweeting, no nothing, and like I was like,
Yeah,
fuck it. Like I'm doing like what I think is best, and I want to show the emotion that this is causing and how crappy this is. And like I read the tweet and the press release from the league before I did this, and like I had read that like operations were officially ceasing at like the end of April or whatever the date was. So in my head I was like, okay, well, like technically like this isn't like a breach of anything, so like if I tweet this, like I can just delete it and it's whatever. all I tweeted was a sad face. And it goes down
I
as like
remember.
one of the worst things I've ever tweeted because it was sad. And that's all I had. I wanted to relate to our followers and our fans and our staff and our fans, or fans, I already said that, and our players more importantly. And it was
Yeah.
sad. And it was sad. So I was like, fuck it, I'm doing this like it wasn't even like an emoji. It was just like the semicolon and then the bracket. Like it was the like
Yeah,
typed out
it was
sad
the
face.
yeah,
That was it.
yeah.
And then like I tweeted quite a few things in that moment in those few days after, and I had some fun with it because Sammy let me. But that first one was so hard because I was like, I just am gonna tweet a sad face, and I was like, is that enough? Is that too
Yeah.
little? Should I not tweet it? And I was like, screw it. And Sammy ended up saying it was fine,
It's
but
yeah,
it was a
it was
lot. And
perfect.
then you were at the rink. I was at home. I wasn't gonna go to the rink because it was just a lot. But you all were trying to craft a statement, and then I'm
Yeah.
also trying to help write the statement. It was awful to put it like
Yeah.
like
It was
completely
one
like
of the most surreal days of my life.
yeah. I think
Like I was
the fact that you were there is crazy. Like you weren't
I
there just because. Like you were there for your own game. You could have been there for
yeah.
coaching there because you're there a lot, but like
Oh yeah, I
just
half
the
lived at that
fact that
arena that
that
year.
Sunday you were there.
Yeah.
That's
And I
wild.
mean, there's nowhere else I'd rather be on that day. That's looking back on it, and even in that moment, I knew I was where I needed to be to deal with this. Whatever was happening had to be dealt with head on, and yeah, I was ready to do what had to be done. And being there just felt
Absolutely.
like that's what had to be done.
I think that's like kind of the like what Sammy Joe was fostering with the Toronto Furies too. Like it was kind of like we if you played, if you worked, or if you were involved in the Toronto Furies in any way or any capacity, like you would go to war for that team, and like you would go to war for
Yeah,
that logo, and like as like I'm not saying as like weird as like male hockey players say like I'd go to war for my teammates, but like genuinely like you would do anything to make that team succeed and like to like see it thrive and to see the players happy and to see like everything be a success, and like for it to all just like crumble was it was really hard, and for it to crumble so
yeah.
soon after the season too, like it
So quickly, so
no buffer
unexpectedly, like
period, no nothing.
there's nothing. Yeah, there was no
Yeah,
warning,
and so much
no.
history in the league too, and like Sammy for example was a part owner or like creator of the league, sorry, not owner, but she
Yeah,
was like one of the ones that started it. Like that was like her legacy for like so long, was that well she's an Olympian, but like that was her professional legacy for a while of like I've put so much into this league and this team, and to see it all just like go by a drop of the hat from a tweet, like I can see why she wanted to be at the rink too, and to get everything done that
yeah,
she needed to get done. Yeah, it's wild. That's just also just messed up.
yeah. So that was the start to my game day operations career.
Woo!
Woo!
It's off to a great
So
start.
great
So
start,
that's
great start.
2019,
That's
right?
2019, and we took a bit of a
Where
hiatus
where
from
where'd
like working.
where'd you go from there?
I mean, I didn't know where to go for a little bit, and funny enough, like I was going to Humber as well. Like you said, we played on the hockey team the next year together, and but part of being in third year in sport management is you have to do internships. And I knew I still wanted to give back to the game, and I wanted to be a part of women's hockey somehow, but I had no idea what that could look like now. And so here comes Grindstone, the Grindstone Award Foundation, and they'd done a couple charity events with the CWHL, specifically the Toronto Furies, and I'd remembered their name, looked them up, and I mean, it it fit it fit my bill. It's exactly right up my alley. We give grants to girls to be unable to afford to otherwise, afford to play otherwise, I should say, and it was kind of exactly what I needed at the time. It was perfect. It allowed me to stay in the game. It allowed me to be a part of it and support the growth of girls and women's hockey, and yeah, just stay in that world and feel a part of things. And they happened to be going through a pretty pivotal moment when I joined. The president actually ended up leaving pretty shortly after
Wow,
I joined, so that was
that's like a thing that happens when Haley just joins things. They're like,
yeah,
okay,
maybe I should just stay away.
no, don't do
No,
that.
I mean, Grindstone's doing great. Grindstone's doing great,
They
everybody.
are.
We're giving out a ton of grants this year.
They are doing
We've
so
had
good.
some
Actually,
massive
like
success.
check Grindstone out. Like actually, as a side note, if
Oh,
you're like going to
100%.
Twitter, go on their Instagram, go on their website. They do
Yeah,
phenomenal
whether
stuff.
you're a family in need where you're looking for grants for your kid to help play not hockey next year, or if you're looking to get involved and support the game somehow, like we've always just supported women's hockey as a whole. We're nationwide. We're coast to coast here in Canada. We haven't reached out to the States yet, so sorry, Americans. We're not quite there, but yeah, no, we do some amazing work, and like the people I've gotten to work alongside and the type of work I've gotten to do, it's been fantastic. So with Grindstone, I kind of dabbled in a little bit of everything for a little while, where I was just kind of all over the place doing the jack of all trades. I was an intern, so they were just giving me all the jobs that needed to get done. So yeah, did a lot of everything, and but one of the main things I did was I worked in their event space and putting getting tables at events and being there, having a presence for us and just raising awareness for who we are, what we do, and occasionally we got to raise some money too, which was awesome. And big one we ended up doing is PWHPA events, so I got to go to quite a few of those in the 2019-20 quote unquote season. um, and then COVID hit. you know, COVID really puts when you graduate from sport management in March of 2020 or April of 2020, it's really puts a dent into the real, like what should have been the real start to my career. But again, still working with Grindstone. I did a lot of marketing for them, which is not my forte, but I found out how to do marketing. And then I didn't like it, but it was a good way for me to kill time during COVID. So I did a lot of marketing stuff and then kind of moved on to, and even through that, creating some partnerships and whatnot. And I've gotten so much great experience through Grindstone, and it kept me in the game. It kept me in the loop. It gave me a sense of purpose in a world that, again, I hadn't figured out what the next step was, but Grindstone allowed me to kind of, take a step without realizing it, I guess. So I'm still a part of them, still on the board, doing a lot of work. It's been great. And again, like we've grown so much from where we were when I started to where we are now. It's amazing to see. And I'm actually, after we record tonight, I'm going to go score some of the grants. So to get our grant
Nice.
process rolling and get some young girls playing hockey again next year. So
So
it'll
special.
be the yeah. So I got some Kleenexes, a box of Kleenex for when I start crying, because it's always inevitably a tough one, but in a good way. It
Oh,
reminds you of
yeah.
what you're doing this for.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then fast forward to August of 2022. So just last year, I'm feeling this need. I need to do something. I love Grindstone and I love what I'm doing with them, and I enjoyed my job, but it didn't have the same pull for me anymore. And I called Sammy Joe. Like we'd stayed in touch. I house sit for her a
As
lot.
one
Love her
does.
dogs.
I was like,
Backup and
well,
Sochi are the cutest dogs, just so
you
we all know.
best dogs. They are great. They are so funny.
Yeah, I love them. They're very
Haley and I
cuddly.
have many things in common, but one thing we also additionally have in common is we've both dog sat and house sat Sammy Joe's and her husband's dogs in their house. Haley's done it more than me, but I've done it a few times as well. So that's
Oh yes.
another thing we have
Oh,
in
Backup and
common.
Sochi are yeah, Backup
They
and
are the
Sochi, they're
best.
yeah, well acquainted. We love them. And yeah, so I called Sammy Joe and just kind of had this like, I need some advice. I need some help. I need some direction on what to do next. And at this point, I'd already kind of started thinking about the Toronto Six as an option. I know, Turner had already been a part of them. I knew a lot about the T6 and what was all going on there. At this point, you'd already left, but I was still looking at it as something where I was like, well, they're about to have their first real season in an arena with like full operations. So I'm thinking there might
Like a
be, something I
non-COVID,
can,
yeah,
yeah, non-COVID. I should, yeah, specify
non-COVID
that.
restrictions, like full, like can have as many people in there because you couldn't the year before. So pretty much like the opportunity for a game day operations manager to step up and
Yeah, well,
thrive.
that's where your experience is. So and I call Sammy and I said basically that was I'm lost, help. And big kudos to Sammy Joe for being that sounding board and being that person I can ask this type of advice from. And she said, "Well, why not the Toronto Six?" We talked about this plenty about the wanting to support women's hockey as a whole. We didn't see it as picking sides or anything like that. We just wanted to support women's hockey, and by going to the Toronto Six, it didn't mean that I supported my friends in the PWHPA any less. I still loved and adored what they did and supported them wholeheartedly, but I also needed to make a choice for me on, how can I still find my spot in this world. So Sammy Joe put me in contact with Angela James, and yeah,
Casual.
casual, it's whatever. It's the Olympians
Casual,
passing around
just
my name. It's
emailing
fine.
Angela James, just
Angela James, it's
nonchalantly like,
fine.
hey, what's up?
So got to hop on a call with her, and she's like, I was actually just about to post for a game day operations person, so this is perfect timing. And I'm like, I'm in. I'll sign on the dotted line. Here's my soul. Sammy can account to the fact that I will give you my life.
Oh, it's so true.
So yeah, so it's time to roll, and it's Toronto Six
So
season, and
So I would like to point out that you went 1-for-1 in the PHF, and by 1-for-1, I mean that in your first season, you got to be a part of an Isobel Cup Championship team,
I still get like just
and you're
emotional
getting
thinking
a
about that.
ring.
I'm
And
getting a ring. We're getting
you're
some
getting.
bling.
Are you still getting a day with the cup?
That's up in the air. I'm actually not sure on that one. I hope
Regardless,
so.
you're getting a ring.
I'm getting a ring. I got some photos with the cup. It was just thinking about that and getting to do that,
Such a
and
special time.
to win a championship so early in your career is pretty sick.
It's pretty
It's
cool,
pretty sick.
especially again like obviously it's not your it wouldn't be your first choice of the women's professional team that you would want to win a cup with. Let's be real. Like if we're just being completely honest, that wouldn't have been your first choice. However, to win it with a team from Toronto, a team where Sammy Joe Small and Angela James are involved, and there's players on the
Yeah,
team. There's Shy, there's Julie, there's Howard. Like there's players that you've known for years from the Furies, but also just in general who you've known, and like to do it and be a part of that team, like that just it's so special. Like it's just so
it
it's so
it was.
special. And I know you
Yeah,
weren't
my
there
only
at Mullet
regret.
Arena, but yeah, I know
That's
you
my
weren't there.
biggest regret
Yeah,
is not
but
being
you
there.
were there. You were there when you beat Connecticut, when you beat the Whale,
I was.
which was
Sammy told me to sit down in
crazy.
the chair and stay seated,
Yeah,
but I was
yeah.
there.
Haley wasn't feeling very well that weekend. I was there for part of it. She was having a rough go. I kind of put on a little bit of an IR, but she pushed through,
A
and
little bit. When you call the president of the hockey team the night before your home game playoff debut saying, I'm in the hospital, it generally,
not
you're on the
ideal.
IR.
It's
Not
not
ideal.
ideal.
Not
Still
my
showed
favorite phone
up,
call. Yep, I hit that button. I hit that goal light button. I was good at
I
that.
forgot that that was your job.
It's the job I
You
gave
crushed
to
it.
myself, so I would sit in the seat and stay seated because that's
And
where
then you could
Sammy Joe
watch the
told me
whole
to
game.
be. I got the whole game. Although to be fair, I feel so
Perfect.
bad because I sat behind Truly for 2 out of 3 periods, and I didn't mean to. I meant to do it the other way around, but I got my ends mixed up. So I sat behind Truly for 2 to 3 periods, and I was like,
Oh
"Chu, I'm
no.
so sorry, man. I saw her make eye contact with me a couple times, and I was like, don't look at me, pretend I'm not here."
I don't exist actually in this moment,
Yeah,
and like a friend of yours is not behind the glass right now. It's just I'm not here.
yeah, yeah. I'm not here. Don't worry. Yeah, no, it was. I mean,
Amazing.
yeah, that playoff series and yeah, the ensuing chaos of Arizona and the watch party I did with my game day staff. I couldn't be in Arizona, but I made sure that we had something to do. We had a little watch party for my game day staff back here in Toronto because everyone who worked home games this season, like they're a part of it. They're a part of this team. They helped us get there. They were a part of the success. And not only that, they were there for a lot of chaotic moments at T6 home games,
I
and I
wonder
will be forever
why.
grateful to them. I will be forever grateful to them for, sticking with it and working hard and powering through some of the
I feel like it's one of
bigger
those,
mishaps that we
like,
had.
yeah, I was gonna say it's like one of those things where the T6 had never had full-fledged game days where
Yeah,
like
and
you could do autograph lines, you could do like there's so many things that couldn't have been done, and then on top of that too, like there's people involved with the team that weren't involved with it the year before when there was like partial fans, so it seemed like it could have come off as like you're constantly learning from a game day perspective.
it was definitely a new experience in game day because like I knew how to run game day, but realizing I was starting from scratch on game day pretty much
Mm-hmm.
was that, yeah, like, there was some stuff in play, and I'm not, I won't deny that, and the person who preceded me in game day ops, basically, there was stuff in place, but there was so much that, like you said, we hadn't been able to do, and just
Yeah,
when it's not a full crowd, you're maybe, it's
exactly. Mm-hmm.
there's way more that we wanted to do in game day this year, and that was quite the learning curve, and just these all these little things that kept happening, and I think technology hates me. I'm not an audio person. I am now an audio person. This is the thing about working in women's hockey is no
You
matter
learn,
what position you are, that's actually not your position. You do whatever
you
you need
do
to
it
do to get it
whatever
done. There's
you need to
no,
do. Yeah.
yeah, you do a little bit of everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, I am
I
now.
also feel like
If you
that's the
need an
case,
audio person,
especially. I feel like that's more the case for your job because, like, when I think of the social media person, it's pretty, like, for the most part, straightforward of like, okay, like, you got to cover the game. You got to take video on your phone, or if you have a camera, like, you're taking photos, etc., etc. Like, you're on top of graphics, you're all that. If you're a photographer, you're there to take photos of pregame and on ice warm ups and then the game and then, you know what I mean? But then when it comes to
yeah,
you, it's a lot different. Like, it's
I feel
okay.
like the only
On
things I
my
actually don't touch on are the two things you just talked about.
Exactly. So like you literally like you have like your influences in everywhere, right? Like so you're on top of making sure merch is out. You're on top of making sure um there's like ticket stands are out and they're being ran correctly. And then back to merch, you're making sure merch is being ran correctly. You're making sure that like people are like organized and not just like staff but fans, and like then like during the game you got chuck a puck and you got all of
Choco
these
Puck,
things
ice, you got your little
like,
ice angels with the shovels. You've got to make sure that our VIP section is
and then
looking
there's
prime and ready to go, and
TV
that someone's there.
timeouts.
That there's TV timeouts and they're operating by the rules, which it's astounding how many rules there are for TV timeouts. And I think that was actually my favorite part of the T6 watch party was that we all knew when the TV timeout was going to
That's
happen.
amazing.
And it was literally, we were like, we're watching the game and the whistle goes and we're like, oh, TV timeout. And the couple of the people at the bar that we were watching with were like, what? What do you, what? And sure enough, it goes to like commercial. They're like, how did you guys
That's
know that?
magic. I just know.
Magic.
I got it. I just got it in me.
Yeah, we have this timing down pat. We're like, there's the Ice Angels. You go, little friends. Like, yeah, it was, yeah,
Unreal.
it's,
So many like things need to be not perfect, but like they just need to be in the right spot. Like they
the
need
right
to
spot
hit. They need
and
to
the
like they
timing
just
of
need to
it.
like the timing. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
where I was getting with it. Like it's just the same and it's got to be the same. Like it's got to hit at that time and then like this has to happen. It's like a domino effect. And if one of those dominoes is messed up, then the rest of them are just going to be a disaster.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
it was a really, it was different from the Toronto Furies for sure. We also had TV, so that makes it a lot different, right? We didn't have TV timeouts at the Toronto Furies, so there's definitely some
Crazy.
factors.
Wait, what do you
There
mean?
was some.
When I streamed it on my phone, I had a TV timeout. So,
Was that you going to get a hot chocolate or?
but yeah, no TV timeouts for the actually. Well, I guess for the final game there would have been because it was on Sportsnet. But
Yeah,
other than that though, like everything else, there was no TV timeouts. It changes the game quite a bit.
It really does. There's a lot more of like a hard schedule. So yeah, definitely, very different from the Toronto Furies, same kind of, base to build off of, but a different experience and just yeah, a lot more, but in a good way where you're like, this is what a game day could be. This is what we were going for with the CWHL. We wanted to get here someday. So
Yeah,
that was really awesome to get to be there and be a part of that
absolutely.
and really get to test whether I could do that. So,
And you could.
and I could. I mean, they were bringing me back next season, so I would, I would hope that they thought I did a good enough job if they were bringing me back.
That's a great segue. So next season, just kidding.
Next season, I don't have a job.
Oh. So how did you find out this time around? And it's so crappy that I
Well,
have to
we
see
all
this time
love
around.
Twitter,
Oh,
right?
it's
I
just
love
the
that. I love this
best. Oh, it's
for my
the
very
best.
short-lived career so far. I've now lost my job twice in the same fashion via Twitter. Now, I will
If
say
you
the
had a
actual
dollar for
coverage,
every time.
yeah, I think that's my most famous tweet now is if I had a nickel for every time I lost my women's hockey job via Twitter, I'd have 2 nickels. And while that's not a
10
lot, it's
cents.
still weird.
It's
Yeah.
so weird.
Yeah. So
Yep.
again, I mean, the news broke on Twitter. Like I said, there was technically an email in my inbox. I will give kudos to the PHF for that. It went to my junk. I'd never gotten
Happens.
correspondence from them before, I guess. So it just whooped to my junk. And a mass email like that would go there. So I found out via Twitter. Um, just that news breaking that everyone else saw of the PHF sale. And then everything was up in the air for a long time. Not a long time, but a couple weeks there where
Long enough.
you didn't long enough where yeah, I'd have people asking about it and my honest answer is I don't know. I know what you know. I
which is
there
which
was
is really, really, really not fun,
no, and
because
I
not only is this impacting your livelihood and who you are as a professional, but like also to like not know what the next steps are for that long, because it is a long time, because it, like, truthfully it is.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that there was no transition in place. There was, it wasn't this is the plan. We have something to tell you and something to release. It felt very like, somebody broke that and we didn't mean for that to happen yet."
Yeah,
Um, so there was
which
it
I
was a
don't think they've
tough
ever learned. Like how that like just could squeak. It just doesn't, that doesn't work like that. It doesn't work. It doesn't
yeah,
work in any sport. Like, and I think the fact that, and I'm not saying that people's jobs shouldn't be getting like people shouldn't be finding out about losing their jobs on Twitter, but if women's hockey, and I under like I a lot of the mainstream media doesn't pick up on bigger, like on the smaller things, which they should. But like if women's hockey is getting those big things picked up where they're getting quote unquote leaked, there's something there.
yeah,
There's something there that's like that's it happens, but like, so you would think they would like have something in place of like,
yeah,
this is probably going to be found out by, Jeff Merrick or Haley Sullivan. Like, there's people that are going to understand. Like, we should probably have a plan. And they did not, which is unfortunate and really, really, really crappy.
yeah. So that was pretty much how I found out that one. And then I was leaving for Ireland. I was going on a family vacation and I'd
Speaking of
sent an email
luck,
to Angela. Right? Yeah, I needed all the luck I could get. It wasn't enough. So I'd send
it's,
an email to Sammy and Angela just basically saying like, "Hey, I'm going to be in Ireland, so if anything breaks, can you please email it to me or something because I'm not going to be, present on social media the way I have been to keep an eye on the situation." And they said, "Great, enjoy your trip," because they had as much info as anyone else. They didn't know. They
which
didn't know what was
is
going on.
wild.
So
Like, that the fact that like they knew as much as you did, pretty much.
yeah, yeah. Now, obviously, maybe they knew. They obviously knew, or most likely
Yeah,
knew a
but on
little
the
bit more, but
surface level,
nothing.
for the most
Yeah,
part, yeah, yeah,
I wouldn't say
crazy
anything that was gonna change my day to day yet.
impact it. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So it's Sunday, July 10th, I believe. I'm at the Jameson Distillery District, so I happen to have Wi-Fi, and I get an email
Hopefully,
from
a
Sammy
drink in
Joe.
hand.
Oh, yes, the Jameson tour was very nice. I would definitely recommend going on the Jameson tour, everybody. It was awesome, and you learn a lot about the process of whiskey and all that, but most of all, you get a drink at the end of it. And thankfully, I had this drink when I got this email from Sammy Joe saying, "I know it's, very last minute, but is everyone available at 2:15 Eastern, which is, 7:15 PM in Ireland, um, for a call?" And in my head, I'm like, "Okay, it's and like everyone's on this call." I'm like, so we're either all getting fired or we're all getting jobs. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
Really hoping,
Which is so
really
scary.
hoping.
That's so
Terrifying.
scary.
And so thankfully I had the
Oof.
Wi-Fi so I could hop on this call and
So were you
well,
just sitting at like a bar with like
basically,
your
yeah. I
headphones
mean, I
in?
moved away, like, yeah, my headphones in. I moved away from my
Oh
family, tried to like
gosh.
find a quieter corner,
Oh
and yeah.
my.
And I'm wearing my T6 hat. I've got a T6 jacket
Oh.
on because you know me, you know how I get with my brands and my
Yeah.
logos. I'm
Yeah.
always like when we played for Humber, I think minimum two logos at any given time.
Absolutely.
Um, right? It's just how I am. And yeah, and Sammy said, fortunately, this is not good news. Not
Awful.
news she wanted to have to deliver, and none of us are going to be asked to be part of this new league.
Yeah,
We're all
and
welcome
just
to
your
apply
told.
for positions, but that was it.
Oh,
That was the end of it. And
oh
the
man.
kudos to the Boyntons for whatever it's worth. They did give us all severance to us that were under contract. So I will say that was
Something,
for all the
right?
crappiness.
Because
It is where that's
yeah, it's
something.
it's something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But
that
yeah,
so that
and
was from like all people that were paid, like that were like
contracted.
contracted. Yeah.
So we had
Yeah,
yeah,
it
we were
wouldn't be
under contract with the
freelancers,
Toronto
but it would be
Six.
contract. Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, we had
Yeah.
like, I had some game day ops people that unfortunately, like, don't fall under that purview because they were just submitting essentially, pay forms.
Yeah.
But those of us that like, I'd signed a contract from
Actual
August
contracts, yeah.
2022 to August 2023 and was in the midst of reworking that to next year's well, not in the midst.
Yeah.
I hadn't really done it yet, but I hear it was
But
approved,
it
so that's
was yeah,
nice.
that's good. Yeah.
They wanted me back, so that was,
That's what that helps.
yeah,
Uh,
it makes me
it
feel a
helps, but
little
it
bit
also
better that
doesn't help because it's like it's the conversation and the constant thought of like what could have been. And like I know I
yeah,
struggled with that for a while after the Furies. Like I struggled with it a lot of like where could it like
yeah,
and like mind you, what is it now? 4 years later now, like I'm very grateful where I am with my career and everything and whatnot. But like at the time, like I was like, I don't know, like what could have this have like resulted in? Like
where could this
what
have
other
gone?
jobs
Yep,
like could I have in my head I was like, well they had like partnerships with the Leafs. Like could I maybe have worked for the Leafs one day? Could I have maybe have worked for just MLSC as a whole? Like there was so many like factors. What like connections would I have made? Like what would I have done? And like it's then you think about the honest, like you're like, would we have won another cup? Like would we like what would have happened, right? Like it's the what if and that's just really it's just not fun at all. And the fact that I think we're still here we're recording this on August 1st and as much as there's like no more unknowns of your job. There's still so much unknown about what's to come. And
yeah.
we saw
What
on
does this next
LinkedIn,
league look like? The
yeah, and we
GM
saw on
posting.
LinkedIn last week there's GM postings for this new league, which like is great and all, but it doesn't say where these jobs are posted. Like it doesn't say like, oh,
No,
there's 6 teams and one of them is here and one of them is there and like this is that. Like it just says that they're looking to hire GMs for the league and that there's 6 teams. That's all it says. And it's wild
yeah,
to me that like we again there's time but it's not a lot of time especially if you're trying to hire someone to work a full-time job in probably a new city. um
yeah,
there's just so much still unknown about it and like I know you like I know you'll like eventually probably find your way into that new league one way or another. And like maybe I will too, maybe we'll be teammates again, which will be sick, but
I'd be
um
down.
like but it's just the unknown that is so difficult and so
It's the
gut
unknown
wrenching.
and how horrible this all went. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't deny
Yeah, it's people's
that,
lives.
we all want one league. It was what we were working towards eventually. I think the
Yeah.
PWHP and the PHF existing at the same time forced them to better each other, and I do think that was growing the game in a great way. Um, it pros and cons to it, of course. It wasn't all roses, but they were growing each other. They were pushing each other to be better, and we all wanted one league eventually down the road, whatever that looked like, whether and even if it was next season, great. It sounded great in theory, but it also at the time, we were basically told like we weren't going to have one league next season. We are still going to be two different entities, and
Well,
to all of
and
a
also, like,
sudden have it
from
ripped
the
out.
yeah, from the player's perspective too, like, like, you had basically a contract, like, ready to go, but, like, these players had signed contracts, and, like, they've been like, "We are having our league," and, like, whatever that looks like
Yeah,
for the P-dub, like, is what it looks like, but, like, the PHF for months of an off season was like, "This is what's happening.
signing player. Yeah,
This is how much that
fully
you're
acting
getting
like
paid. This is where you're playing." Britt Howard went from playing in Toronto to Boston and now
that's a
doesn't
big
know
move.
where she's going to play. It's a huge move. It's a massive move.
Yeah,
And like, everyone knows this, but there's players who bought houses with like with the idea that they were going to be making six figures with their team and like so many things.
yeah.
And like, from a staff perspective, like, man, like, what is that even going to look like? Like, what
That's
jobs are they
I
going to
think what
prioritize? What jobs are they going to want to pay? Like, what jobs are they going to think that they could just get volunteers for?
and that's the thing. I mean, there's a lot of
Mhm.
things I'm worried about with this. Obviously, the way it went down is less than ideal, and how much trust can you have in an organization that went about it this way? But another big one is, yeah, staffing. Like, as someone who's now done this twice for no, I understand the situation in the leagues, and I'm not bashing them in any way for the amount that I was paid, but definitely making less than what, this job was worth. Um, and that's the
As
nature of
someone
women's
who also
hockey.
was in the same spot as you with the same team, I get it. Like, it's nice to get
Yeah,
paid doing it, but also, like, when you actually think about it, you're like, "Oh, that's just not for what
yeah.
I'm putting
It
in
was
here." I mean, it's the reason I left, like, as much as, like, there's other reasons, but, like, the main reason was I first of all, I had to work for two teams to even make, like, ends meet to pay rent, but, like, for as much as you put into that job, like, and as much as you're getting paid, it's nice to get paid, but at the same time, I can't pay my bills with that. Are you kidding?
yeah,
I
and
can't pay
yeah, and
that.
I
That's
wanna
ridiculous.
I'm working 2 40-hour a week jobs, but I'm only getting paid 40 hour,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. I got
and
two full-time
again, that's
jobs, but one barely pays part-time.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but what does this new league look like? How are they gonna pay their staff? Is everyone gonna be getting paid their a fair wage?
Yeah,
Um,
I think the red flag for me with when it comes to paying is, like, the salary cap of, like, the salary cap's gonna be, like, stuck where it's at for a while from what it sounds like, and, like, that's one thing, right? Like,
minimal
that's
increase.
player
Yeah,
salaries, but, like, what's it gonna be for staff? Like,
yeah,
what are we gonna be able to make in this league? Like, is it even gonna be worth it? And I'm not saying that, like, the job itself isn't worth it, but, like, I don't know, like, you're a little older than me, but like we're getting into our late 20s. Like you're in your late 20s, but you know what I'm saying. Like we're
yeah.
like we're
You're
getting
at a
to a
point
point where
where
you need the stability and you need the reassurance that I should only have to work one job. I say that as I work multiple, but I'm a freelancer. It's a little different. But like in general,
you
if you're
went that
working a
route on
job,
purpose.
I did it on purpose. I did it to myself. But if you're working this one job that has you working 40 plus hours plus game day plus everything, why am I only making half of what I actually should be making? Like, what am I? I'm not even going to apply. Like, what's the? That's what
Yeah, and
like
again, like, it
bothered
was
me
same
about
with
the
the Toronto
GM one.
Furies.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was the same with the Toronto Furies where, you're doing it because you really believe in it, you wanna be a part of this, you want yeah, it means something more than just the dollar sign, but like you said, I still have bills to pay.
exactly.
I'm not yeah, I'm not old by any means, but I am getting into my late 20s here, and it is, I'm at a time in my life where there's priorities and decisions and bills and other there's
Scary
other factors.
things.
I wouldn't even call them scary. I'm thinking good things I want to make moves on. Like,
Oh, okay. Well, I was just saying, like, money is scary, but I know what you're getting at here.
money is terrifying.
Money is
Money
scary.
is
Bills are
terrifying.
scary. I pay too many of them. I don't want them. Get out of here.
They pile up. I pay them. It
No.
is what it is. But I want to work in women's hockey. I want to make this my
Mhm.
living. I want to grow the game. I want to be a part of it, and that's never going to stop. That's never going to go away. But it'd be really nice for for 1 minute for the game that I love so much to love me back, just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Please and thanks. Yeah. Wow,
Yeah,
that just like gave me like full body chills hearing that. And like I know you and I have had several conversations about this before, not recorded, but it just the like the type of like feelings that bring it like are just like it's just not fun. Like it's just in working
no,
in this world should be fun. And it should love you back and it should be what you want it to be, and the fact that it continues to let you down and me, but like I'm not in it as much as you are currently, but like it just continues to let you down, and you've given so much and it's just unfair. And for the sake of like just not losing your job on Twitter again, I really hope you get back into it and like you find yourself in that league, but it just doesn't end like the other two did. Because I hope if it
yeah.
has to
I mean,
end somehow, it's a positive ending. And I'm
yeah.
not like
I want
wishing
to.
you joining it and then ending, but like I'm just trying to
Yeah.
like come on now.
Oh, yeah, I wanna leave on good terms. I want it to end the way I want it to end, and, like, I
Absolutely.
truly hope I want this league to be it. I want it to be the one that works. I mean, y we just this whole one league thing and all of that,
I think I'm like
I
almost out of
want
hope.
women's hockey to have that stability.
Yeah. I feel like I'm also like I'm like really struggling to buy into it because I'm out of hope. I'm like
Yeah,
trying so hard. Like I like when the league plays and stuff, I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna write about it. I'm gonna tweet about it. I'm gonna buy into it. Like I'll probably buy merch. Let's be real. But it's so hard to like at this moment sitting here again August 1st being like I'm excited for this league, like because I don't like I can't, it's really hard to, and I want it to succeed, that's not the thing, but it's hard to get excited about it. It's really
yeah.
hard to get
It's
excited
hard
about
to
it.
have been a part, like, to have these I don't want they're not failures. They're not failures so close
No,
back to
no,
back, but these things that have
no,
happened where, you get started and you really get into it and you get invested and you put so much into something and then to have it end. And then you
yeah,
finally build it back up to do that again. I built myself back up and I went for the Toronto Six and to have this happen again, it's so hard to be like, all right, third time's the charm, boys, let's go. Like
oh, it's
like
oh, I've
I'm
seen
sure
this,
I'll
I've
get
seen
there.
this movie before. Like I didn't like it the
Yeah,
first, well I liked it, but I didn't like the ending the first two times. I stuck through it all the way to the end, like oh goodness. Yeah,
yeah. So yeah,
yeah,
I hope this works and I hope this is it and I want it to be it so bad. And I think, if we all have that mindset and keep going into it and keep supporting women's hockey and despite how this has gone down, um, I'm still gonna be supporting it and I still want this to succeed and I want it to happen. I want it to work
100%.
and I'll
Yeah,
be there. I'll be there.
yeah,
But just
yeah. I'll join you.
please,
I'm hoping for
please,
a Detroit team,
if you're gonna fire me, just can you do it like a normal way?
like a normal, please. I would like 1 ounce
I've
of
actually
normalcy, please.
I've actually never wanted to be fired before in like a normal way, but it would actually be a welcome change
It
because
would kind of be
knock on
nice.
wood, I don't think I've ever lost a job in a normal way. All I know is over Twitter. So like
That's so crappy. Like,
I mean great
like
that
for it
that's
to do it
those are the
once,
only two jobs I've lost. But
yeah, for it to do it once, it's like, wow, that sucks. But like, crap happens, and then twice. Hello, what are we doing? It's just unfair.
yeah,
You
they
and
heard I
you
was
and
there and
poor
they just had
Sammy are just you and Sammy are like, what is happening?
to That's why Elon's actually shutting down Twitter, is you just heard that we've had enough.
He heard. He's like, wow, these women's hockey people are really feeling it right now. We're just gonna get rid of it. We're gonna change the name
Yeah,
because if we change the name, we change the logo, they're gonna get better odds. Like it's like less jobs will
gotta
be
work,
lost.
right?
That's definitely not what he's thinking. He's fired so many
No.
people, but
Elon doesn't care about
well,
our
I was
jobs.
almost
He's
there. I
here to
almost had
stay.
it.
So close.
All right, we're gonna flip it a little bit here. We're gonna go into a couple of like quick hit questions at the end here just to wrap things up. I'd love to get your, because you're a huge hockey card collector. So am I. We buy
Huge.
into the hobby together, and like we won't get. Maybe that'll be like an additional thing where maybe if that PHF women's hockey upper deck
That
box,
hobby
I don't even
box
know the
ever
name of
comes
it,
out.
if that ever comes out, maybe you and I will rip some packs on a video and we'll toss it up on the Ice Gardens YouTube channel or something. I
I'd
don't
be
know. Maybe we'll do
so
something fun.
down.
That'd be so fun. Maybe we'll do that.
Oh, that'd be
But
dope.
so we
I'm
can
in.
get into absolutely. We'll get into that maybe sometime in the future about you and I working together on that. But we both collect. We both really enjoy the hobby. But I'd love to know kind of like just a quick like how long have you been collecting hockey cards, like what's so fun about it, and then streamlining that into why we don't have enough women's hockey cards and where are they. Give us them, we'll
Yeah, I
buy
mean,
all of them.
right. My pockets aren't deep, but they're deep enough for this.
I'll make it work.
Yep. No, I mean,
Don't
I
tell my
started collecting when I
fiance, but I'll make it work.
yeah, the Emilys don't need to know.
They don't need to know.
Yeah, so I mean, I start, I collected hockey cards when I was a kid for fun. They always had those little quarter machines that you could get cards in the arenas, and those were
So
awesome. And
fun.
right, my little brother and I actually found our binders of hockey cards from like way back then, which was super cool to go through and all that. And so that was just a fun little childhood hobby. And then fast forward to basically the pandemic, um, and I was actually in New Brunswick with my family for the pandemic, for the start of it at least, because this lasted a long time, but for the first like 6 months or so, I was in New Brunswick. And my brother and I had gone to the mall because in New Brunswick, things shut down and then got to reopen again because people listened to the
What a
rules.
concept.
And right, it was great.
Wow.
So by like
Crazy.
May, I was going to the mall again.
Oh, can't relate. I didn't
And
see a mall for almost
yeah,
2 years.
yeah.
That's
So we
just
were in
my
the
own
mall.
doing, by the way. It wasn't closed for 2 years.
I was gonna say, I feel like that's a you thing, but like probably a smart
Yeah,
you
it's
thing.
definitely a you me.
Yeah. But
It's a you
and
thing.
we have to go to like a freaking like Toys R Us or whatever, and they had a little box of hockey cards for like $30. And we're like, hey, it'd be fun if we rip this little box of hockey cards together. So we bought a couple of them, and we had nothing better to do because again, pandemic, and no one was doing anything. And we ripped this box of hockey cards, and we got a Kirill Kaprizov Young Guns, which for anyone who knows hockey cards, that's like a pretty good card these days.
It's a
That's his
pretty good,
rookie card.
especially when you pulled
Yeah,
it. It was a
yeah.
good, yeah.
I got a good chunk of change for that card. So we pulled it, and at the time we were
Game
kind of like, oh,
over.
this
That's
looks
where
cool. Yeah,
you got a chunk
game
of
over.
change.
This is
Game
where my
over.
bank account. Yeah, this is where the bank account took a downturn. This is why I had to work 2 jobs. No, I'm kidding. But so I look it up. And I'm like, well, I think this is a cool card. Like, I kind of started to see stuff on, like, I don't know if how your phone picks up the words you're saying and then gives you advertisements, stuff like that. Hockey cards started to pop up into my Facebook feed, anyways. And sure enough, I started looking it up and finding like Facebook groups and whatnot, and got into it that way. We had a couple fun cards, and um, I ended up selling that one, and just that was kind of where it started. And then during the pandemic, I mean, you're locked inside. I ended up in Toronto for the second major lockdown, and that was a horrible experience. It was just, wouldn't
I was
recommend
still in
that
Toronto
one.
for that one. Yeah, no, it was not a good
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah. So that was a rough time, but it was this thing that I could do in this little community I could be a part of. And I mean, I was spending pennies where I'd watch other people spend like thousands of dollars. It's insane some of the money that people spend on
That's
hockey cards. It's like
wild.
thousands of dollars. And so, but I was just having a little bit of fun, and it was a good just little thing that I could be a part of essentially. And that's kind of where I really got into it. And now, I mean, it's something I don't want to say I do a lot of it. It's a hobby now. It's not just a little thing I do to pass the time. It's a full-fledged hobby. I really enjoy collecting. I know the value on a lot of things. And I frequent this hobby hockey store often enough that they just know me. So, it's
They
become a thing.
actually offered her a job.
Yeah,
They
that's
offered
true.
her a job, and it didn't work out for a few other reasons, but, like, they literally were like, "Do
Oh,
you
they
wanna work
offered it
here?"
to me again, so we're talking.
Yes.
So it's yeah, like I really enjoy this hobby. It's really fun, but again, with hockey, the lack of women's hockey product is astounding. There's like a bajillion different offerings when it comes to men's hockey products. Like
It's
your
crazy.
NHL
There's
hockey
too
cards,
many.
there's
It's, like,
like
overwhelming, though, how much there is. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
there's so many
For, like, the
different
outsider, you wouldn't even know, like, that there's so many because it's just hockey cards, but, like, there's actually so many different
yeah,
products out there, it's insane.
so many. And like
Yeah.
even there's always the debate of what's the true rookie card and all that because there's so many different variations and brands and all of these things. So there is so much option out there for men's hockey cards. But if you want to buy women's hockey cards, you get one option. And that's not really an exaggeration. I wish it was, but I'm off the top of my head, it's one option. It's a Team Canada hobby box. At least in North America. I think there's more
Yes.
overseas.
There is, but
But
they're
here in
also, from what I understand, they're still pretty difficult to get
yeah,
overseas.
but here in North America, you get one hobby box slash there's also blasters and the mini anyways, but one base product. And um even that's mixed in with the boys, the junior players and all that. It's not just a women's hockey box. And it's only Team Canada. You don't get
I
the
got it right here.
Americans. Yep,
It's
there
right
it
here, and
is.
I don't even know if it will say, but like it says include. Okay, so it's Team Canada Juniors at the top, and this is the 2022 version, and then smaller print under it says including Team Canada Women. Like it's not even like, and like Bedard is Bedard, and he's on the front, but like it's like there's no sign of the fact that there's women's hockey cards in here. Actually, I don't know if there's any in here right now because I took them out and put them other places, but that's whatever. But just to show you, I just thought that was really funny that was right there. Just to like, just a glimpse of how that being the only product, it's not even the main part of the box. It's not. It's like, it's and it's not even like like. I don't remember the exact poll on it, but I'm pretty sure like it's not even guaranteed each pack will have a women's card in it.
No.
Yeah,
No,
no,
you could probably rip that
no.
whole thing and it wouldn't have had one in it and it wouldn't be
Which
considered
is
like
just
a problem. So yeah, it's women's hockey cards not they're not really
and
out
like
there.
that's Canada.
Um,
Like there's nothing for Team USA,
no, nothing. The Americans
which is
get
like
jack
mind
shit.
blowing to me because like a
Yeah.
Hillary Knight card would like people would want that like non
Oh yeah.
women's hockey like love like that being their main love of the sport, like they would go after that card, but it doesn't
Yeah.
exist.
No.
Which
There's a handful of them out there from like Goodwin Champions. There's one brand that might have a hockey card or two of American female athletes.
crazy.
But like that's it. Like it's not an everyday
It's
item.
so
It's not something
silly.
you're gonna just casually find on the shelf. So it's weird. It sucks.
It's so weird.
And we were gonna finally get a PHF box. I mean, they had this deal with Upper
I heard
Deck. We
it's
were gonna
by
get
the way, I heard it's still coming out. So I don't know
that's
how
good. That's awesome.
I don't know how that's gonna work, but I'm pretty sure it's still coming out. But
I mean, I
I
know
guess
for a
we'll see.
fact that we'd sent in like jerseys and stuff for the
Yeah.
patches, and like players had done signings for
Players
it. So
signed and
I,
yeah.
yeah, so I know like they had all the pieces. I just, I was curious to see if they were gonna actually
Especially
finish
now
it
that
off or
like
not.
the PHF was bought. So like how does that work for rights and
Yeah,
because the PHF and Upper Deck had a partnership. Um, so like, how does that work? Because now the PHF isn't even owned by who they were owned by. Yeah, I had heard as of a couple weeks ago that like someone who knows like the insides of a card store in Toronto that they're still planning on being for sale in August at some point, but I don't know if that's just like not true. So I guess
yeah.
we'll
Well,
see.
we'll find out. We'll find out.
Which, like, will be
But
sick
yeah.
because then you're gonna see a lot of Toronto 6 cards because they won. Like, you're gonna see, like,
Oh, yeah.
championship cards and, like, I'm so curious to know
I
what the
don't know if
designs look
there'd be
like.
championship cards in this one just because
No?
the box was definitely like, everything was already produced to a certain point, I feel
I
like,
guess
when we
so.
won.
I guess so.
Like, I
Yeah, that's a
feel
good
like there
point.
might not be. I would love it if there is, that
That'd
would
be
be
cool.
awesome, but
But still
I
to
have
say that
a
it's, like, from the year that you won with them is still pretty
yeah.
cool.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I plan on
We're gonna rip
spending a few
some of
bucks on
those.
those. Oh, yeah, we are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just
It's a
wild
wedding
that,
gift,
like
actually.
yes, please. I'll put it on my registry.
Do it.
Emily, I don't know how that ended up on there. I'm so sorry. I don't know how that ended up on there. I just like I was trying to add like cards, like different types of cards, like for like occasions, and then hockey cards just ended up on there, and I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't
My
know.
apologies. Whoopsies. Yeah. Fingers crossed that comes out because not only will that be fun for us to have, but also just like an opportunity for people to see teams that won't exist. Woo! Thanks.
Yes. I mean,
But
TBD on branding. They may still keep some of
TBD is
us
right.
for
TBD
branding.
is right. Right. And also just in general to have women's hockey cards, for the
Yeah, more out there.
younger girls and like the younger people that want to see women's hockey cards because they just don't exist.
Yeah,
And like we had the Tim Hortons packs here too, which um, every like once or twice a year, Tim Hortons will do a partnership with Upper Deck, and they'll sell little packs of cards that come with 3 hockey cards in them. And one year they did a Hockey Canada version. And within that Hockey Canada one, the same thing like that box that we had just showed and talked about, the opportunity to pull cards from the senior women's national team was a possibility, but the pull rate was awful. Like I remember buying like
oh,
30 packs and like pulling
yeah,
like 7 women's cards. And I was like, all right, just like all right, that's cool. I
yeah,
only, but like I will say, and you had touched on it already about the community. Like there's Facebook groups and stuff, and I was able to fill out my sets and send some people cards and like younger girls cards that they wanted them to trade because people would again buy so many cards. These people have so much money for hockey cards. It's insane.
oh, it's
Um,
insane. I
it's
can't get over that. I don't even
if
wanna
you
get
you
into that.
can't you wouldn't even want to know the numbers on some of these cards. Like one singular card, like worth like thousands and thousands of dollars. But people will
Thousands.
buy these boxes of Tim's cards, and they'll have all these cards that they don't want. Which it ends up being at the time there was women's cards that like they had so many extras of. I would trade it for ones that they wanted of the men's ones. So it worked out, but it
Yeah,
shouldn't have had to be that way. It shouldn't have had to be the way of like, oh, I have this card from this team that's like I have like this I don't know this Sackett card. I'll trade it for your that Poulin card that you had. Like that sucks. Like
yeah,
that stinks. But hopefully, and maybe the new league will have a partnership with Upper Deck. Who knows? But maybe one
that'd
day
be nice.
that's something that comes out because that would be really cool. And then it's like you're getting like you're getting so many different types of players on those cards, which will be cool. But and
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
just national team. Like it's more than just national team, which will be nice. And they're not in Canada jerseys either. They're in their
yeah,
whatever
they're
their
in
team.
their
Insert
organization
name
jerseys.
here team. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Speaking of like women's hockey like history, if we're talking about the cards and stuff and how brutal it is of that. You're a goaltender. You play goalie. Again, we've mentioned that. I'd love to know what goaltender you think women's goalie in the past has had the best setup.
I've given some thought to this question. I even went
And then
now I will say,
additionally, who's had the worst?
so I think now I'm gonna have to kind of just go into recent memory for this one. To be honest, we've had some
That's
pretty
all
sick
good.
setups recently, and I mean part of it is that the custom game's gotten better, and they're actually getting the women's teams are now actually getting the resources for these custom.
Yeah.
Because now keep in mind, a lot of the times you're gonna see women's hockey goalies maybe not rocking a really sick set for their team, but if you look closely, odds are they're just rocking like an all white set because that's what their
Or
organization
it's
gave them.
like or they're in their first year, they're pro. like career and they're
Yeah.
wearing their Clarkson pads, you know?
Who does that?
I don't know.
So so I think, yeah, going in a recent memory, I mean, top 2 that comes to mind were just, America, Canada, they're gonna take a split here. Um, Campbell's set. That Bauer
Oh,
Digitron set, I'm not a
ooh,
Bauer goalie, but oh my god, that set,
those were her Olympic ones, right?
yeah,
Yeah, because they had
those were
the black and red.
unreal.
Those were so
Black
sick.
with the red, sick. And then tossing over to American goalie, I'll give credit where credit's due. Nicole Hensley's set is pretty much, I mean, it's
It's pretty
it's
sweet.
it's
It's
clean,
pretty
it's
sweet.
nice, the drip is there. Um, Tossing in a
Amazing.
worse setup, I'm also gonna have to give it to a Canadian goalie with Enrene
Oh,
Devien's horrible
oh!
pants. Devien, I love a retro pad, I like tan,
You
but
don't
that
like those
set,
tan ones. Yeah.
oh, I
Yeah,
those are
it
the
clashed.
passion.
It
It didn't
clashed.
work.
It
Yeah,
didn't work.
I get what
I
she
could
was
see what
going
you were going
for.
with. Yeah, but it
Yeah,
just didn't it
it didn't work, and it stands out to me as, like, when you are making a conscious decision to wear, your team gear and still managing to make it look bad is painful. Because there's team gear where I'm like, "Meh, okay." And then there's the goalies that are wearing all white because that's all they got from the
That's
organization,
all
but
I
when
got.
you were getting a
Yeah.
custom set and it doesn't look good, it hurts my soul a little. Sorry,
Yeah,
Davian.
I it
You
was
got us
cool though,
Olympic medal,
again.
but
It was cool though to see a women and like again going off of what you just mentioned about like how to have custom pads and custom gear for women's goalies, like it's just beyond, it should have happened years and years ago, but it was cool for because that was for Worlds, with the that heritage jersey. It was cool to see her with two separate sets of pads,
yeah,
right? Like
multiple
to be
sets.
like,
Yeah,
right, like yeah, she had several sets, which like that's unheard of. Like that's like
is
an
yeah,
NHL goalie thing. Yeah. So that was
as an
cool. That
NHL
like
goalie. Yeah,
I'll give her that.
yeah,
The design though could have done it a little better.
yeah.
Maybe a different shade of
Speaking of
tan.
women's worlds, going back to a goalie with a 6 set, the Team China goalie with the dragons on the
Oh,
pads.
so good. Those were
So good.
unreal.
I cannot remember her name, and I'm so sorry, but those were awesome.
Yeah, I know which pads you're talking about. Yeah. All right. And then last question here before we wrap up. I'd love if you could build your dream goalie trio in women's hockey. So like can still be
Easy,
playing.
easy, easy.
Past, present,
Shannon
doesn't matter.
Zavid.
All right.
Yep. All right. Shannon Zavados, absolute rock star, Canadian legend. Nuaratu. I mean, come on, you gotta
Oh,
put
can you
Nuaratu.
imagine those two on a team together? You'd never lose. You'd also never get scored
No,
on. That would be so
yeah,
boring. The best
and
way. In the
then
best way.
in the best way, and then throwing it out to the Swiss legend Florence Schelling.
Oh, those are such good picks.
Thank you.
Like three, like not only like obviously phenomenal goalies, like legendary, like the best of the best, but like just like throwbacks of a pick to like they like obviously one of them was supposed to play, will maybe still play this year, but like
Mhm.
two of them are retired, and like that's so cool that like you're able to, that those are great picks. No comments there
Thank
from
you.
me, no negative, nothing negative. All right,
Thank
that's
you.
all I
Thank
have
you.
for you.
Awesome. I mean,
All
thank you for
right,
having me, buddy. This was pretty sick. Yeah.
anytime. We're gonna have to rip some packs one day on the ice skating YouTube channel one day. I think Mike will really enjoy
So
that.
down.
But thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out.